If you're looking to become a better player at Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2, you've come to the right channel. You're listening to Escort Hydra, and in this video, we're going to be talking through the objective system, how valuable the objectives are within the actual multiplayer game modes, and how to think about using them. Now, I know we've already done a video on the psychology of each of the different fleet types within this game and how they might want to interact with the multiplayer mode. In this video, though, we're going to be going into a lot more depth. This, trust me guys, is going to be an important one if you're looking to improve on your decision making as a player. Now, the first portion of the video needs to be defining and setting the scene for this. We're going to do a little bit of number crunching, but it's going to be pretty simple. First up, we have 5 objective points on a map. 5 points, each one generating 1 point per second, taking us towards a total victory condition of 2,700. Now, what this means is, and I'll do the maths for you, don't you worry, if you hold 3 points for 15 minutes, you're going to win. It means you're going to get that 2,700, which means you're going to get approximately 900 from each of the 3 points you own, and that's going to give you a win, assuming there is no combat or anything else. So each of these points on the map, I'm going to say approximately, could be worth up to 900, okay, in terms of contribution towards winning. Now, why is this important? Well, this becomes a really important number when you start comparing it with the actual victory points from fighting. So an average fleet is going to cost 1,999 because no one can rarely get that goddamn 1,200 spot on. It's doable. It is doable. But what this means when you're fighting an enemy fleet is that even if you kill everything on their fleet, bar one ship obviously, because otherwise you'll automatically win, you would need to really efficiently manage your own fleet, not take any casualties, in order to come close to getting the same value as one of these points on the map. It is very, very rare that you're going to get 900's worth of value from just battling the opponent. You'd need to kill, like, nearly everything and not have a single casualty. It's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen. And why is this so important for me to emphasize? Because fighting alone, and I'm going to say this again, fighting alone does not compensate for poor map control, okay? We're going to say this one more time. Fighting and winning a battle does not compensate for poor map control. Poor map control is going to throw you a game, regardless of whether or not you beat someone in battle. Okay? Got to say that. Now, let's come back. Let's step back a little bit. Guys, if you are one of these players, and I know we're out there, and I know some of us think this some of the time, if you're thinking to yourself, winning fights equals victory, this is a thought process that will make you a worse player. It will make you make poor decisions, and it will make you lose every now and again. I have to be blunt. This is incorrect. This is not good logic for this game. Why is it bad logic? Well, because it's going to make you chase kills, it's going to get you out of position, and it's going to make you not focus on the objectives. Now, that doesn't mean that fighting is irrelevant. What it means is that we have to correct this phrase. We have to correct this phrase to fighting is a means to secure better map control, okay? If you're killing an enemy ship, you don't want to kill it for the sake of it. You want to kill it because it's going to allow you then to get better control over the rest of the map. Or maybe you're going to be killing a fast-moving ship so it can't get to a new area to contest something, okay? The reason you need to remember this is that it will influence all of the decisions you make when it comes to target selection, where to fight, when to fight. We're going to be going through all of this in just a moment. Let's start talking now about how this principle that even a favourable fight will not secure a victory when matched with terrible or inferior map control. Let's now talk about what we need to take home from this. Okay, number 1. Objectives are relevant to the whole damn game. Not the ending, not the middle bit, not just the beginning. Every single moment of the game, the objectives are relevant. If you have one of the 4 objectives and the enemy has the 4 of them, you are probably going to lose. Even if you manage to kill everything, unless you've got a very fast-moving fleet, it's not going to go well. This is something to keep into consideration. If you are not thinking about objectives till right at the end and you've got 2 units left and then thinking, oh my god, I suddenly can't get map control, you've done something wrong. This is your fault. for being in this situation, and you need to accept responsibility for it in a game mode that prioritizes this. Okay, I'm sorry to bring the bearer of the tough love, but it needs to be said. If you're in this situation, you've done something wrong. Map control is relevant to the whole game. Now, more importantly, what this means is that when you take a fight, and this is a fundamental principle from chess, whenever you make a move, it should be aimed at contributing towards your macro strategy, your overall goal. Your overall game, or game goal, or goal game in this, is to get to that 2,700 points, okay? That's what you're targeting here. So everything you do needs to contribute toward that. It doesn't mean everything you do means that you have to go toward an objective. You can run away from objectives sometimes if it means getting a few kills to later contest them with more ease. Absolutely. But it means you need to not be doing things that directly oppose this goal. Think about it, guys. It'll start to sink in and make sense. Now we're going to go on point 2 of this point, the second half. Escorts, therefore, have a different value. All ships within this game have a value, not just the big ones. Big ones are good. They can defend. That's pretty cool. They're tanky. Okay, they're not particularly efficient value for damage, etc. You don't get amazing good value compared to a light cruiser. But these big ships still do well in a 1-to-1 battle if matched against something smaller. So yes, keeping them alive is good. They can defend. But they're slow. They have a negative as well. Your smaller ships, however, will come with things like silent running, more speed. They might just be more in number, which means they can be spread out to multiple places at once. They might be able to capture a point quicker. What this means is that having ships alive is very, very important. Sometimes keeping them alive is essential to winning. Sometimes letting your big ship die so the small ships can live is the right thing to do if that then means it's going to contribute towards your overall map control. Hopefully this is starting to make a little bit more sense now. This also means a few other things need to be taken into consideration too, such as removing the enemy's ability to contest map control. Now what does that mean? Well, when fighting against Necrons in numerous games, I've killed the escort and then just ran away from the 2 Cairns to the left. And you might say, oh Hydra, you so cheesy. It's not really anything I did wrong. I was doing the right thing by removing something that the enemy needed to contest my map control. That's the mistake on him for not keeping them alive and respecting their value within that. Don't get me wrong, I lose my escorts all the time. Sometimes it costs me games. This is something you need to be considering though, and it actually means that sometimes the smaller ships should be the primary target, not only for reasons relating to map control, but sometimes just relating to the fact that they also have good vision and other accessories that might contribute towards losing in the long run. So make sure that you're not necessarily just targeting a flagship for the sake of it. There will be times where it's appropriate, there'll be times when it's not, but think to yourself, what can I do here to gain map control? Now, we're going to move on to another one that is so important, and that is that position on where you fight is essential. Position on the map for your ships is critical to winning and losing games. You've all seen this. You've all seen this when a slow-ass ship is the other side of Narnia, stuck in the middle of nowhere. You win the day, you fight the battle, and a bunch of escorts to the other side of the map, and you're never going to make it to the points before you lose. Now, in that situation, it's not the point of the player that's already captured the other stuff and wins because he's got an escort left. It's the it's the fault of the player that stuck a really slow ship in the arse end of nowhere in space, nowhere near the objective that's going to contribute toward a victory. When you go into a game and look at these maps, you need to be considering, where should I be sending my fleet? And it shouldn't necessarily be just towards the enemy because that's where the enemy is. That's, again, going back to this faulty logic that's going to make you lose games. It doesn't mean you need to sit around an objective doing nothing either. That's just completely inaccurate and just hyperbole spread from folk that don't actually engage with the system. Go towards, if you're a slow-moving tanky fleet, the most dense area of objectives, And that may well lead you to victory. What we're going to do now is go through 2 or 3 situations where we're going to go into a spawning point, and I'm going to talk you through a decision-making process for the beginning portion of this, and hopefully you guys might get some ideas and things to think about. Let's get cracking. Okay, so here we are in situation number 1, and this is probably going to be the paradise of maps for someone that wants to defend. We have a lot of gas clouds, and we have a couple of points really, really close to us. Oh, we just got a new follower. So what we can do with this is send 2 escorts, isolated, to go and contest these on silent running. That's going to be easy to do. They're not going to be contested with how close they are to our spawn zone. And we can send the rest of our fleet to contest the middle area. We have a fleet where we want to fight. We want to fight at fairly short range, so this point in the middle is actually perfect for us. It's a fairly simple decision-making process. Once we have this area under control, then we can use this gas cloud to reduce the enemy line of sight of our ships, and then we can just simply guard this area until we know where the enemy is, at which point we can start engaging but never leaving too far from here. If he's something like the Dark Elder, we could probably afford to chase to the next gas cloud, let's say, but we wouldn't want to go too far, and we'd probably want to leave at least 1 ship within range here, so it would be able to cover this using its broadsides. Always remember, guys, if you're rocking a broadside, you can cover 2 different sides at the same time. It's something worth considering. Even if you were trying to defend this particularly long area here, a broadside ship in the middle with a couple of lances is going to very accurately take down a fighter or an escort that is trying to capture either one of these 2 points. You can cover a large area with some of these ships on a lock-on stance. Just be wary of macro at long range. It's not going to do a long damage. But I do accept, guys, this one is a very easy one to discuss strategy, so what we're going to do is load up another. Okay, so here we are with another map. This one's looking a little bit better to emphasize a point, because now we have a few choices. Now, in this situation, we have a few various triangles we can draw between these objectives. I would state to begin with that this, and this would be a very poor example of 3 points to hold, because we have an asteroid field directly in the middle. It's going to be a bit difficult to maneuver around. So the question is, what are we going to do to work around this? Now, in this, I have another alternative long-term strategy I could take. I could actually take one of my escorts to capture what I would describe as the free point here on silent running, because it's going to be very, very rare for an enemy to contest this early. It is possible with some fleets, but it's very unlikely. And then if this one is uncontested, I'll take it for free. What I would generally do is I'd send this unit to here, capture this, park him over to the side, wait a minute and see if this is being captured, and if it is, scan it to find out what it is, then quickly run away. If it's not being captured, take it, because it's free. Now, for the rest of the fleet, what I would think on for this map is fighting in an area that suits me. And the triangle drawn between here, here and here, although not covered by many gas clouds, would probably be a preferable place for me to fight. So actually what I'd be thinking is sending my fleet straight up the top here. We'd be able to take that with a couple of escorts quite quickly. This is why the silent running perk is so useful, so you can use a stance while in silent running, or thruster rather, and then we would actually be looking to push straight ahead through here, see how far we can get. But this may not sometimes be the optimal choice. There might be other options available to you, but this is giving you an idea as to how I might view how to approach a fight. If at the late game I have the majority of my ships over this side, I've decided to deploy them up through here. What you're going to find is that if the enemy owns this, this and this, is by the time that these ships can make it from here round and up to there, assuming all of my escorts are dead, I'm probably going to lose about 300 points before they get there. This is something you need to accept when you're intentionally mispositioning ships. If you put them far away from the area they need to be, you're going to suffer for it. If you put them where they need to be, you'll normally get to fight with them anyway. You just want to make sure you're fighting with somewhere that suits the actual ship. If it's slow moving, be near the objectives. It's pretty straightforward. Now let's look at a Dark Elder strategy instead. Right, now this map is perfect for a little bit of discussion because there's quite a lot of thinking we could do before even spawning here. Obviously, we have 1 point which is going to be uncontested and an easy grab for us. It's not going to be much of an issue. We know in this game our opponent is an orc, and as a result we could even choose to rush the middle to take it as quick as we can, and we know we could actually capture that before he could contest it, just given how slow his ships are. But the question is, where should the body of your ships be going? Now in this you have a choice. Yeah, you could try and rush here, here and here to get the starting triangle, to get the beginning 3, and this would be perfectly reasonable. You could equally though spend a little bit of time just investing your firepower on a flank per se, and what you could do with that therefore is try and take out a few enemy escorts fairly early on. This is again with a long-term view of gaining map control, but a short-term objective of sacrificing a little bit. And this is where sometimes actually avoiding the objectives is okay, as long as your long-term goal is something that will compensate for this. What you'll often find as well is killing the actual ships, the little tiny ships, will still net you 30, 40, 50, which is enough to get you a little bit of catch-up, even though you've sacrificed some map control, but it will put you at an advantage. Now, of course, we're Dark Elder, so that's, despite the fact we want to go up here, that's not going to be very helpful. So what we're going to do instead is we'll put the ships here, we'd send them north until they stealth, and then we'd send them up and right, so the enemy doesn't actually know where they're headed, hopefully giving us free access. Now, the advantage of being against an orc is you can see exactly where he is, so he's not going to surprise you unless he is a blood axe, which is sneaky and cunning. Predominantly sneaky. This is one approach which would be absolutely fine. You could also take your fleet and rush this one over here with a couple of objectives, and you could maybe sneak hard and fast down the left-hand flank with a view to go to his ships that will be hanging around capturing here, then doing a quick run around the back. It's probably a little bit risky as there's not a lot of space to run here. I wouldn't be much of an advocate of that, but it would be an option. Likewise, Gas Cloud over here makes for a perfect ambush point, but what I'm saying, guys, is when you spawn, when you put your units down on the map, you need to be taking these variables into consideration. It is going to be the difference between a win or a loss in some games, and it will make you a better player if you're aware of these things. And above all, guys, it's going to make you enjoy the game a lot more if you're thinking about this extra layer of depth that the actual objective system has brought to the game, instead of looking to blame it for reasons why maybe it's made you lose every now and again. Look for ways that you might be able to engage with it and improve your gameplay as well as your decision-making process. It's also going to make other tactical games a little bit more enjoyable once you can look and stare into the depth a little bit and wonder about the possibilities. Once again, if you find yourself in a situation where you've got one little escort that's running around at the end of the game, and you've got yourself a big old ship that's just struggling to catch up, what this means to begin with is your big ship's in the wrong place, you've already messed up by letting your ships die, and you should have prioritised the objectives earlier on. Guys, remember, objectives over kills. But kills also allow you to get objectives. See you next time.